Wisdom shines in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. My comments bring this profound wisdom into your experience. I'm Richard. Welcome. I'm reviewing and commenting on the book Talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. Today is Talk 204, Part 1. Ramana Maharshi on self-illumination. The I concept is the ego. I-illumination is the realization of the real self. It is ever shining forth as I in the intellectual sheath. It is pure knowledge. Relative knowledge is only a concept. The bliss of the blissful sheath is also but a concept. Unless there is the experience, however subtle it is, one cannot say, I slept happily. From his intellect, he speaks of his blissful sheath. The bliss of sleep is but a concept to the person, the same as intellect. However, the concept of experience is exceedingly subtle in sleep. Experience is not possible without simultaneous knowledge of it, that is, relative knowledge. The inherent nature of the self is bliss. Some kind of knowledge has to be admitted, even in the realization of supreme bliss. It may be said to be subtler than the subtlest. In this talk, the Maharshi discusses the nature of the I concept and the essence of self-illumination. He begins by identifying the I concept as the ego, a crucial aspect to understand in the context of Advaita Vedanta. Ego is the idea that I am an individual. Having this idea, you set yourself off against the world. According to Ramana Maharshi, I-illumination represents the realization of the true self. When Ramana speaks of I-illumination, he's pointing to the direct experience of the self, described as eternal, unchanging, and blissful. The real self is described by Ramana as ever shining forth as the I in the intellectual sheath that corresponds to the intellect. This sheath is associated with discernment, judgment, and intellectual understanding. The use of I emphasizes the pure, undivided nature of the real self. When Ramana says that the real self shines forth in the intellectual sheath, he is pointing out that the true nature of the self can be grasped or realized through a deep introspective inquiry that goes beyond the ordinary workings of the mind. The Maharshi further explains that this real self is synonymous with pure knowledge. In contrast, he distinguishes relative knowledge as mere concepts. Relative knowledge is mental knowledge, knowledge of senses, objects, and ideas. Real knowledge is direct and experiential. Real knowledge is non-objective. Ramana tells us that the realization of the real self goes beyond conventional conceptual knowledge and concepts with pure, unadulterated, direct knowledge. It's the kind of knowledge that comes with being. You know it because you are it. He introduces the sheath of bliss, highlighting that even the bliss experienced in this state is still just a concept. The bliss of the blissful sheath is, in essence, a mental construct, just another idea, as are the other sheaths said to cover the real self. Maharshi emphasizes the importance of experiential knowledge, saying that unless there is the actual experience, no one can authentically claim to have slept happily. If there were no knowledge, then how would you know you were happy when sleeping? He draws a parallel between the intellect and the sheath of bliss, saying that both are the products of the mind. Ramana then discusses the subtleties of experience during sleep. He describes experience as exceedingly subtle in this state, suggesting that even in the absence of conscious awareness, a subtle form of knowledge persists. Otherwise, how would you know that you slept well? This implies the inherent nature of the self, characterized by a bliss that is not a mental concept, but direct experience, so subtle that it transcends sensory or mental knowledge. Yet it is known directly. It is the content, if you will, of deep sleep. This talk explores the profound nature of the I, the realization of the real self, and subtleties of experience and knowledge. The Maharshi invites contemplation on the nature of bliss and knowledge, guiding seekers towards a deeper understanding of the self. So inquire, know yourself, and be always free and at peace. These videos help bring Ramana Maharshi's teachings into your direct experience. Subscribe now